Hello, everybody. I'm Myron Medcalf with the Marianne Key Book Club, joined as always by Ramona Kitto Stately. We just wrapped up an incredible event for an Indigenous people's history of the United States for young people, which followed our author event with Debbie Reese. We had some community programming. First, let me just say, I thought it was amazing, Ramona, just the panel discussion. I wish it could have kept going for hours. You know, I didn't want it to stop. I learned so much. I just felt it was just such like a genuine, authentic experience for the people who were watching. And I really loved it. For you, you know, what was that whole experience like from just reading through the book and then the conversation at the end to wrap up this session?
Thank you, Myron. Yes, I thought it was amazing. And the experience was, it was really enlightening for me because as an Indian education director and whose mission is to enhance the cultural identity of the Native child, this is the work that we do in the community, but not in the larger community. So we don't ever really get to use that information to help others learn about the true history of the United States and even specifically Minnesota. So it was really enlightening for me to be able to hear the responses of people who actually never knew this information, and also to see how many people responded and actually read the book. So I felt like there was this need for this other narrative to come through.
I keep thinking, Ramona, with all the books we've done, and we've done Caste, Minor Feelings, and now this one, it's like, how do we extend this beyond, okay, reading the book, the conversations we've had, the panel discussion, you know, for the people who all participated in that, sort of what's the next step for those who say, you know what, I want to be an ally, I want to be someone who's contributing to, you know, what we were talking about on Thursday?
I've been thinking about that very question. And I was thinking, what are those action steps that people can take? And one is bring this book to your community. Even being able to reach out for some discussion questions and ways to facilitate the book club. I think that would be one actionable step. What are the books that have been offered through Hennepin County Library and the Marianne Key Book Club, this one included? And then also look in your community and find out what's going on. How can we support these groups, specifically Indigenous Peoples Day, right? Which isn't an official day in all the different areas throughout the state, but that would be just one beginning step. Also, look through your organizations and do you have a land acknowledgement? And are you willing to create some actionable steps to that come with land acknowledgement, just to open the conversation?
I appreciate that sentiment because I think I thought about it too, as well as we had the conversation. Lastly, one thing that you touched on in our conversation a few times that I think is important is you talked a lot about Minnesota and some of the institutions here and the organizations here that play a major role in kind of how the history is just monitored and distributed and how people are characterized. What should some of these organizations do? I know you mentioned the Historical Society to further the missions and goals of people like you.
I think that what we've seen since the murder of George Floyd is organizations reflecting on maybe the inequities that do exist. There's a report from LinkedIn that said the percentage of organizations that have increased their what's it called?
Giving?
Not their giving, but their Office of Diversity, creating a position for a diversity officer has increased by 84%, which means that they're like, oh, you know, we really need to have that. So I've really seen that organizations have tried to bring these inequities in focus in the workplace. I think they can begin there, but also bring the voices to the table for the decisions that are being made for everyone. And also, who are those, who are the organizations that are holding this narrative back? And I'm not sure that's the first focus, but I am sure that it's happening. And then we should be considering, why is this narrative being held back? Because those are barriers that are in place to keep this work from moving forward. And it's really important to be able to move this work forward in a good way.
To that point, I know someone who has one of those sort of office of diversity jobs in the last couple of years, makes a lot of money, and kind of just feels like they're just sitting in the office every day trying to figure out kind of what the job is, So I do think that's so important, where I think a lot of people were hired to sort of become the face of these efforts. But, to your point, are we bringing them together? Are we really considering their voices? Or is this just performative and for show? The last thing I thought about is the question I asked you all at the panel at the end, which is so hard to read some of these books sometimes, because it's like, as marginalized communities, we have to sort of relive our trauma and this generational trauma and the experiences of those who came before us, and even those of us now who are still experiencing these things. And it's easy to forget about the joy, and it's easy to forget about the thing that wakes you up in the morning, right? For you, what is that joy? When you look into the future, despite everything, that's come against your community.
For me, the joy is that we are still here, Myron. We come from very, very old and ancient roots and cultural ideals that we can still use in our contemporary lives today to manage the trauma and to continue to strengthen the people and our nations today.
Well, Ramona, this is an incredible panel and event. Second time for us working together. I'm sure it won't be the last, but thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.